Alright, so we're back on the 4.6 liter again. This is an '03 for reference. This is a junkyard engine. We are prepping it to go in a vehicle, and we are changing the necessary things that we think are necessary to prolong any problem, to put off any problems that we might have in the future inside the vehicle. So in other words, we're trying to make it reliable. And one of the things we think that need to be replaced is the rear main seal. And that's what this video is on. So we're going to take the flywheel and or flex plate off, whatever you want to call this thing. And we got on the 4.6 liter Romeo is 6 bolts. And I believe on the 5.4 liter Windsor is 8 bolts. And so this would be the difference right away without any other observation. So first thing we're going to do is, obviously they left this without a transmission in the junkyard, it looks like, for a while. Our spacer plate here that helps hold the starter here is a little bent up, and it was probably from sitting on the ground here. The flywheel is pretty rusty. We're going to try to clean some of this up when we take it off. We also want to take it off so that we can clean around here, and then we want to locate another dial pin. Either we'll take it off the other vehicle, other engine, or transmission housing or something else, and we'll put another dial pin in here. This dial pin helps align the transmission and engine together for an easy hookup when we're actually putting this back in the vehicle. So we want to make sure we have that. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark this with a punch. Okay, so I know that it probably doesn't matter which way this flex plate goes back on, but you got to think, for the life of this engine, it's been running in one particular
direction,
but most of all setting with vibration. In other words, this flex plate might be a tiny bit heavier here than here, or here than here, or something like that. And if we take it off and we spin it 180 out, or even a few over, I don't know. Probably we'll never notice a difference ever. We'll probably never know if it actually makes a difference. But on the small off chance that it could, and this engine is worn in with the flex plate bolted on in this one way, we're going to put it right back the way that it was to avoid any problems. Since the engine has worn this way, we're going to let it keep wearing this way. So we're going to mark this flex plate. We're going to put a dot on it. There's a dot there, and we're going to put a dot here to see that these two align right here. So remember, we're probably going to go after this with a heavy wire wheel and clean all this up. And we want to be able to see those two dots when we come back. Okay? Now the bolts, putting them in whatever place they go in probably doesn't matter, because the bolts are probably all casted the same. Alright, so we're going to take this off and we'll get started. We'll show you what size it is. Alright, looks like we're going to get a 17 millimeter for this job. 17 millimeter socket. Fits these bolts on the back of the flywheel. You can do this with the engine out of the car, or up underneath the car on a rack, or up on jack stands, or whatever, however you can get to it. You're obviously going to have to pull the transmission to get to it, to get to the flywheel. That should be no mystery if you're thinking about taking on this job. Fine thread bolts to indicate that it gets pretty tight. Alright, that's 6 bolts. Wow, flywheel's on there pretty good. Pretty good. We're going to have to vibrate it a little bit. It's on there pretty good, folks. I'm guessing it's rusted on there pretty good. Alright, we got it off. Yep, and we have the rear main seal exposed. Here's our flywheel, flex plate, whatever you want to call it. I guess it's a flywheel for an automatic, right? And a flex plate for For
standard?
No, I don't know.
What's with that little hole right there?
Where?
That hole that's off.
This?
Yeah.
That's just part of the casting of the crank. They all seem to have that. All the cranks most of them I've seen in my lifetime on different various engines. It might be something to do with the machine to hold it during spinning it on a lathe or whatever they do.
Maybe.
You know, doing the manufacturing process. This thing was pretty torn up. Yeah. It's salvageable, you know. It's just a little bent there and there. And when you go back, it'll smash back into place when it's compressed with the bolts back in it. But I do want to clean all these threads. I'm going to chase a bolt through there that's not too rusted to get those threads nice and even, because there's nothing like working on an engine or putting an engine back in where the bolts are easy to spin back in, so that you don't have to sit there and hard ratchet everything and hard crank everything back in. Nobody likes those stubborn bolts that are a pain in the butt. But it's a good thing that we did go after. Okay, so we got 2 bolts here. 2 bolts. It's a good thing we did go after this, because we do have some seepage. Look.
Yeah, all on the bottom side.
Yeah, that's probably sitting up, maybe. It's normal to have that kind of seepage, you know, over time. And doesn't mean your gasket's bad, but, you know, this has definitely got some time on it, 03, so. Yep, so we can pull this plate off and start the process of taking these out. Looks like we're going to have to put some kind of gasket sealer and stuff back on here. We'll figure it out once we get it off. And we'll let you know what the process is for this. Alright, we kind of opted in to clean up ahead of time with a quick wire wheeling. We're just going to do it because this is going to make a mess, and we just want to get the mess out of the way before we go in and place a seal. I don't want to be wire wheeling after we got a new seal in here, is my point. Alright, we're kind of cleaned up here. Not as good as we need to. Now we're going to get to this. This is an 8mm, so an 8mm socket for that. Now there is a tightening sequence on this. It's kind of silly. I mean, I don't think, you know, if you want to be a stickler, you can go ahead and follow the torque spec and the tightening sequence. I think it's something like 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, something like that, and then 15 foot-pounds, and then
on something, yeah.
No, it's 15 foot-pounds, and then I think you put your ratchet on there and you turn it a quarter to a half turn, kind of like you torque head gaskets. So I think that's kind of silly for something that uses a chintzy 8mm. You know, I mean, I think it's just to make sure that this is sealed down evenly. And here's another thing that I would recommend. I would just say 15 foot-pounds, and then just make it an even 20, 25, and be done with it. But go back and check them all, that kind of deal. Here's what else I'd make sure of when I did this is these oil pan bolts here. These are different size. These are not 8mm. These are obviously something probably like 13mm. I'll let you know in a minute. I would tighten those down last. Obviously your oil pan is here. You got a gasket under here. This is a flat plate. I would opt in to torque the flat plate down because it's got dial pins. So there's no real movement here with the plate. In other words, no adjustment up and down. And then I would torque these last because there's a gasket there that needs to be sandwiched from the oil pan. And that just makes sense to me. So, yeah. Alright, so this is loose. Let's see if we can pry it off here. It's flexing a little bit. Alright. Seems like I need to get a screwdriver or something. I'm going to come back in a second. Alright, so scratch getting a screwdriver. I don't think you need that. You just need to remember, like I didn't, to remove these 2 bolts on the bottom from the oil pan. Okay. However, one of these, I think this one was loose. It was hand tight, which is weird. I know I didn't do that, so it must have been like that from the junkyard or previous owner Or maybe it vibrated loose. Who knows? I wonder if any of these are loose too. No, it's tight. Tight. Yeah. All right, we'll get this off and we'll come back and confirm this is a 13 millimeter. So 8 and 13 is what you need, the 2 sockets for this. Okay.
Nice and tight.
Yeah. He's probably gonna make an ass out of me. He probably wants me to go get a damn screwdriver so I can pull this off. Yep, well, I gotta get a screwdriver anyway, guys. Yeah, it's definitely a heck of a pry. Really pry out to get it out.
Might be that rear main seal, huh?
It is. See, it's the way it's set up. Wow. Look at that. And that rear main seal stayed on there. Look at that.
Jeez.
It didn't come off. It just stayed. Shit. How do you work with that?
Carefully use a screwdriver, maybe? Just pry against the rubber and that's it, maybe?
Against the rubber. No, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. It stayed on the crank. It's that hard, you know. It'd rather come out of the damn... What would happen if I'd start that up? No, really. Would it have spun inside of here?
Oh, I don't know.
Instead of on the crank?
Jeez, I don't know. That's actually a good thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, right? All right, stop that. We'll find something to get this off. All right, never mind, folks. Look, come here. Let me show you this correction. Okay, so there's the seals right here. Look, see? That's the seal. This right here is like a dust shroud. It goes on after the fact, okay? And this is tighter. So this is probably stationary with the crank. It's probably just going to spin with the crank. So it'll be spinning around this aluminum kind of just to keep the bulk of the crap out, you know, from getting in here, mud, whatever gets inside of here to keep it out. So this is stationary, attached to the crank. It's harder there, and then that's your actual seal behind there. I'm not sure that you actually need this shield, but we're going to put it back anyway. All right, we're going to put a claw hammer back here, and we're just going to pull from the seal to try to save this ring without bending it up. So instead of prying it alone, we're going to use the old seal as a buffer in between. See?
It's moving. It's good. It's not completely frozen on there.
Well, it's not going to be. It's just a seal. I mean, just a dust shield. You know, obviously I'm not going to pry against the oil pan. There it is. Alright, here we go. That's our old seal. We're going to keep that and use it to pry on our new seal with it. Use this to help get our new seal on. And then our old seal, our dust shield. It looks like it's... Wow, look at that. It's kind of squirrely there. Looks bent up a little. Even though we use this to take it off, still kind of squirrely looking. We're going to try to get this back on. Look, there's a Ford part number if you want it. So you can figure out what it is. Can you read that? If not, I'll get the carb cleaner.
Looks like some of it you can read, most of it.
Alright, we'll come back and show it. Alright, we're just going to clean this thing up. This is the cover. We're going to clean it up. We're going to clean the seal. This side that covers this. We obviously don't want any oil leaking out of here. I really don't see any oil, any sealer on here, but you know. Anyway, we'll come back after we get all this clean. Alright, here's the cover. It's kind of cleaned up. This is the housing for the seal. This is the old seal. We'll kind of get an idea of how it's going to go in. Obviously it goes in this way. I think this is the inside facing the engine. I think that it probably goes into about right there, about that deep. or that shallow rather, or deep. In other words, you push it in from this side all the way to about right there. So almost close flush on the inside, right? Almost. Then this difference in space right here we'll be able to use for this seal to go into like that. So it'd probably ride inside like that, just barely like that. I wouldn't imagine you would want to put this dust cover too close to the seal because you don't want it to eat up the seal, rub into it too much. But I think it'll be fine. This is the old. Here's the part number for the new one of the new seals. You can cross-reference this number. I just grabbed the first seal that was affordable because they're about 29 bucks. I got this for about 22, 21. Maybe cheaper than that. I don't remember, but I did opt in for the cheaper seal. This is a cheap, cheaper installation. A used engine. Let's see what we got here. I don't want to spend forever going over instructions and stuff, but basic. This doesn't even look like it applies to us. It's not even the right picture of the right engine. So, you know. Oh, 2.3 liter. 2.3 liter. This whole thing for a 2.3 liter? Because if it is, they sold me the wrong seal. Looks like the right seal.
That's weird.
Yeah, we can cross-reference the part number again, just to make sure. Let's see how that looks. Alright, that goes on. That's about how it's going to fit. That's pretty tight. I'm going to cross these numbers anyway just to make sure. But this is the part number that I'm getting here. It must be a universal seal. Must fit more than one engine. And they just sent this garbage. But this is for the 4.6 liter. And it does fit the housing correctly. So we'll probably lube this right here, tap it in, and get ready to push it down with the old seal. Tap, tap, tapping it down. And that's what we're going to do. We'll come back. Alright, we're going to put the seal in. You want to keep it on we're going to use a board to lay it on. Remember, this protrudes up here, so don't lay this thing thinking you're laying it flat. Because you're not. You're going to leave it hanging off of something like that. Okay.
That old pan surface.
Alright, that's flat. Take the old seal. Looks like we got a lot more to tap on surface here to protect the seal. So I'm going to put it like this. And remember this. Will push in on you like it just did to me. Alright, do you see how far inward that seal is? That's pretty good, actually.
Leaving a little bit of a lip.
That's probably what we want, I think. I'd imagine you could probably push this whole thing through and through real easy. You probably don't want to do that. So now we just need to get this seal out. Alright, we'll do this and then we'll come back. Alright, so I'm going to use carburetor cleaner. I already wiped this gasket surface down, but I'm going to use that to degrease any surface that needs to be degreased. And then I've already wiped this down, but I'm going to do it again with carburetor cleaner. A heavy-duty degreaser, that's what you need. I want as much oil off of here as I can get because I want to obviously put some gasket sealer on here and seal this down. This is what our gasket final installation looks like on the actual cover itself. That's how shallow it is. I mean, how deep it is, rather. And then this is the lip left behind. That lip I'm going to use for this dust shield to go back on. Okay, and I'm just going to try to get some more of that surface rust off of here, off of the crank. And I'm going to take some, let me get my gasket sealer on here first, and then we'll come back. Alright, we got it on. Our gasket sealer anyway, that is. Normally I wouldn't put all that nasty stuff around the oil pan gasket. The oil pan gasket's self-sealing. But, let's put it on a crank here, it's better. This is used motor oil or new motor oil, whatever you want to use. This is to lubricate my seal when I put it on. And okay. Oh, why did I put gasket sealer around the gasket here? Because I bought this crap that I'll never buy again, and I'm trying to get rid of it, and I just keep grabbing it out of the box. It's absolute garbage. It's so runny. It's junk to me. I don't. Maybe they make that style today because people like it, but I hate it. It is useless. When you're trying to do a good job, it's too runny. All right. So here's the thing: when you do this gasket comes with a kit that Ford sells. Ford actually sells this. Look, see how I'm doing? Alright, got it on, see? I wiggled it on. You don't need that plastic cone that they sell overpriced, like $8, $10 more for the plastic crap cone that comes, or the special tool that Ford sells and all that. I just showed you that you don't need it to get it on. You start at the bottom and then wiggle it on and have it lubricated, and then you're done. So that should save you some money there. Alright, so obviously this thing wants to be pressed on better than this. I'm going to use my bolts to suck this in. I'm not going to take a chance with the way that it is. I just hope that this garbage gasket sealer that I have here,
Moto seal,
whatever junk, does not get into. I bought that by accident. I hope it doesn't get into the crank, into the motor oil and all, and cause a problem. You know, the last thing I need is that shit floating around in the oil, clogging up ports, causing an oil pressure problem. Hopefully it won't do that. Alright. Now remember what I said. Lastly, we want to put on this these bolts. 13s underneath.
this last.
Yeah, last. So let's get what we need to get here and torque this down. Oh yeah, I see why they have a sequence to this, because it's moving all about, all around. Okay. I'm just kind of going all around.
Hey, is it me or does the seal look a little crooked from my angle?
It's you.
Alright.
Because I double checked it, and it's close to straight.
Alright.
Very close. Yeah. Did you say that on camera?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you did that. Folks, this is if it looks that way from the camera angle, if the camera guy saw it, maybe you see that. When I look at it this way, it's not crooked enough to the naked eye to give a damn about. Do wheel seals and all that go in crooked in wheels all the time? Does this mean that it's not going to work if it's an eighth of an inch this way or that way? If that's true, then it would have a back stopper. The seal would have a back to stop on. It does not. So I think we are good. Let's try to use the rest of this to lube up this part right here. All right, when we're going to clean this up and get this on there. We'll come back in a second. Alright, let's torque this thing down before it gets too late. Shit, some of them feel like they're at about 20 foot-pounds already. Alright, that one was looser. That's about 20. About 20. 20. A little bit more than 20. 20. 20. So what's the goal here? What am I doing? I'm making sure that they're all evenly tight. That's all I'm doing here. I think this is what Ford or whoever designs this torque spec and all that, this is what they are actually wanting you to do. It's kind of the same thing when you're putting on those head gaskets with the disposable bolts. You know, back in the day we didn't have disposable bolts. We torqued them down the same every time and they did fine. But now the bolts are spring loaded and disposable. So when you do that, we proved already in another video that all you have to do is go back over all your bolts and make sure they feel evenly as tight as one another. And that's to get it even all the way around the board. And I think that's the big deal. Alright. That oil's coming out from in between the oil pan gasket and the oil pan, not the cage cover, which is normal. Even. About 35 foot-pounds. Those are all good. Okay. Alright guys, folks. That is torqued back down to what I think should be for that seal replacement. And I think that's going to hold. I think that's a good deal. Now, we just get the fun of tapping this on evenly where it stays. And we just want to take this and go right to the edge of the crank. Right? Okay. Now we don't know if this is going to be even or not. Like if it's going to be warped or bent or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Just the dust shield.
It's just a dust shield, and we don't want to have it all smashed dead against the seal. So we're not going to do that either. We're just going to take it and do a little tap. A little tiny, all the way around, and use something for an even reference point, right? Not quite. Needs to go a little further on this side. See that? Whoa. That one went a little further. What about right here? Okay. That's fine. Look. It got pretty even. It's not perfect, but it's kind of even there.
Just the dust shield.
I think that is going to work. I do. And if something happens and I start this vehicle up and oil gushes out everywhere later on in the future, I promise I'll come back and tell you, hey, there's a problem. But I don't believe there's going to be a problem. I think that's good to go. If there's any question in my mind about what we just did here today, it wouldn't be the torque specs, it wouldn't be any of that. It would be whether or not we should reuse the dust shield. That'd be the only question. And whether or not that dust shield is, you know,
Dire.
Not only dire, whether it's not dire, I know that. Well, whether it's okay to be kind of wavy like that. But I think that's what we're gonna go. We're gonna go with that. All right. Should we put the flywheel back on and make it a part of this video, or do you folks need that? Or we did mark our dots. Remember that we have our dot right there. Look, it's a permanent part of the engine now. And we have our dot on our rusty flywheel before we clean it up. Right in the center somewhere here. Right there.
Yep.
Can never lose that.
Can't exactly see that, but there you go. Yeah, there you go.
You can see, trust me.
Clean all the rust off, that'll still be there.
Yeah, we'll clean this rust off and we'll paint this black. And then we'll clean this up. We'll probably paint this black. And then we'll put it back together and we'll show you what it looks like in a picture at the end. How's that? Alright, thank y'all for watching.